the show begin. Next generation for the win. We're going all in. All together now, let's begin. Let the show begin.
So Ethan, how did you feel looking at the startups? Because you were on that same stage in Japan 10 years ago,
Yes.
pitching at our competition, and here you are taking Klook into the next 10 years. How did you feel watching the competition?
Well, it feels amazing. I met some of the founders down there as well, and some of the judges' comments and the feedback was very, helpful, which is something I took in when I was 10 years back. And I still remember that I was Adrian from Booking Holding, the chief strategy officer for APAC, I believe.
Yes.
Right, really give some of the best advice I had in the early days.
All right.
So it's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
so one of the conversations too on the stage is about the journey of how the next generation of entrepreneurs have evolved, right? And I think Chris Hamilton kind of pointed out, like the first generation was a gambler, then went to promoter, which is fundable entrepreneur, and then to builder. What are you?
I'm more of a builder. I look at myself that way. As we often chatted, I often look at the different opportunities that can be done, and sometimes I actually need my other co-founder, Eric, as many know, to pull me back. The most difficult thing is when the company has been scaling, it's no longer about just building. It's also learning how to sunset, learning how to know that a certain project becomes a sunk cost, when to stop doing certain things. Then the resources and time can be better utilized.
So
which
when
is
you
lesson
stop
learning.
building, okay.
Yeah.
But you've been really good at promoting as well, right? Fundable entrepreneur, sorry. My throat. Losing my voice in the last chat. You're pretty good at being, fundable as well, right?
Fundable from a
Yeah,
fundraising
you've
perspective?
raised a lot of funds. You've raised a lot of funds.
It needed to be the right timing, right? The journey, I think for many of you guys who have seen the capital market in the last 10 years, there was a few good points of fundraising. There also, what we call the tech winter, right? Never go against the cycle. As a previous, banker myself, one thing I always learn is leverage the opportunities when the market gives you. And then you need to spend wisely. And always plan 2 steps ahead, that knowing that you have 24 or above of the run rate, till you can hit that probability mark. So you should just always embrace it. Like for example, in the most recent last 12 months, right? Even in the early stage, just everyone was presented talking about at the Series A, break even, hitting probabilities, right? That was something that's not often talked about back in the time of 2019 or even in 2021.
Right, okay. Very good advice for the startups just now, really. Okay, so let's start with something fun. And to celebrate your 10th anniversary, you're giving away 11 money can buy epic experiences,
Yes.
right? And I kind of picked up a few which caught my attention. And let's go to the slide with some of the experiences. It's too small. Oh, yeah, you can read that, right? So
You
Ethan,
pick an interesting one.
which
with the
one?
photos.
Yeah, I know. I just had to go for that image, right?
Is that something you want to try?
I'm not sure. I think they're actually fake anyway, created by AI. So, Ethan, which one would you pick? Which one would you pick?
Well, for me, I'm a big amateur snowboarder myself, and knowing that I can have that kind of activities with one of the Olympians, that's definitely something I would like to try.
Right.
Yeah, I want to be guided coming from top of the mountains.
For snowboarding.
Snowboarding.
Okay,
yes.
cool. Very adventurous. Okay. All right. So first 10 years, incredible. Congratulations on turning 10. And you had your own event last month, and I think you shared an independent study by Oxford Economics. And I think you wanted to sort of prove the impact of Klook, right? And so you shared that you had contributed 7.2 billion to the GDP. Can I have the next slide? Of APAC, and you supported over 219,000 jobs. Was that important for you to prove your impact?
The real answer?
Yes, of course. We always want real here. This is not fake,
Yeah, well, first, the real answer is, as a private company, we cannot really disclose our financials so directly, right? So working with a third party, looking at the economic impact, is much more it's much more easy and less compliance risk.
Right. And it's really good for PR as well.
Yes,
Right, okay.
but we also do really want to understand the direct impact and the indirect impact that we made in the new sectors across Asia Pacific, because the whole business is actually backed by over 80 to 90% of small and medium-sized business. And they are the one really providing the backbone of all the variety of the different activities and experiences that can offer to the consumers. So I think to really acknowledge that, to understand how fragmented the sector is, and that's something what we really want to have a third party coming in and really do the research and the study together.
Well, I mean, pretty impressive. What are the projections for the next 10? What kind of numbers would we be looking at the next 10?
For Klook itself?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I tell the team 10x. But actually, if you think about it, 10x in 10 years, CAGR-wise, is only 26%. That means if you're able to consistently growing at 25% above on the annual growth rate in 10 years, you are 10 times bigger. So, and I think that is something very achievable for Klook.
That's very achievable. Yeah. Okay, so you've talked about APAC and how important Klook is to building the backbone and morality of experiences in APAC, right? And at this conference, everyone has talked about how big APAC is, right? And the future. So isn't it big enough for Klook? Why are you going overseas? Why are you risking Asia domination for global dilution?
I think starting from day one, travel is always a global business. And I think even some of the, the startup earlier were talking about how the different part of the world. Because travel is a network. It's not a single market business. So the bigger the network, the more parties, the more consumers to share the cost. So the nature of travel is go global in day one. And then for APAC, yes, we were fortunate to start it from APAC. And in the last 10 years, we were able to build a very diversified business across almost every single market in Asia Pacific with a very strong brand name that give us the culture and also know-how to build a business that is actually very multicultural. And the foundation, what we have to call internally, is you build a very strong foundation that any market you enter, you can actually empower the team to build something on top that to grow. So if I give a specific example, our entire payment system is built as a switch. That means any market that we launch, we can just plug in. And it will already allow for all the local payment gateways, wallets, or banks to accept the payment for the local consumers. So that is something can very skilled, and that gives us the comfort as we continue to expand.
Right.
And the last and the most important thing is as what we see the Asia consumer trend, especially coming out from COVID in the last 2 years, majority has been short-haul travel. Right? People, in Singapore going to Thailand or going to Japan. But in the recent 6 to 12 months, that we do see a much faster growing as they venture out into US and Europe.
Right.
So to grow together with our consumers, we have to expand our supply coverage to make sure they are well served no matter where they go.
Right, so you want to basically follow the Asian traveler and that they will follow Klook wherever they go, right?
Yes.
So as a builder too, you've started building with the end goal in mind. So you started building the payment switch, you started building your platform with the end goal in mind.
Yes.
All right, okay, very deliberate. So, but Ethan, I mean, we in Asia, we've seen a lot of Western brands fail in Asia, right? The ones that come to India, China, we heard about eBay, how they tanked in China. For Asian brands, I am told, the US can be their downfall, right? Because it's such a big market. And you've got very, very strong players. You've got Viator and Get Your Guide is going in there. And then you've got the big OTAs that are going into tours and activities. So what makes you confident that you can compete in the American market?
Well, first of all, the more big boys, that's how we like to call it, when we catch up with Get Your Guide and Viator, it's just a proven now that is a very sizable market. And I do believe Viator, Get Your Guide, and us together is already over $10 billion annual turnovers. Right? So it has been proven to be a very sizable market that bring online. So we always welcome to have more players to be in the market because we do see a huge long-term potential. And the sector need so many more players to help to digitize even faster. I mean, that was actually one of the first advice I received during my startup pitch at WiT is in the travel space, it's always an ecosystem. Everyone else helping each other, and that's what makes the travel sector much, much bigger. So that is something we are very welcome, and we work with almost every single player in the market. And the second, I think 10 years expertise in really understand the suppliers, the operators, and build a brand across 15 markets at almost at a similar time. That does give us what I mentioned earlier, the strong foundation, how we can continue grow from there. And the most important part is when you're really looking at travel, back to my fundamental belief, travel is a global business. You have to have the global network effect to make it scalable and to reach that critical economical scale. If it's any single market players, it will never reach the scale that's required to cover all the OPEX costs that's needed. Then you will never have the unit economic for the consumer you try to target. You will never have the unit economic for the supply that you have because you're only serving a single market. Right? The only two markets globally that has the volume to support a single platform is US and China. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I think Klook has also done really well is understanding the consumer in Asia, right? And how social and how mobile it is. And I actually remember it was almost 10 years ago at a WiT conference where I think it was a Chinese speaker. I think she was the co-founder of Dujia. And she said at that time that all social is not travel, but all travel is social. And so she was really kind of calling out that social trend. And so what you're doing is now you're kind of banking on the now wave. I mean, like you're creating this Klook creators, and customer acquisition. Is that how, and you've done a partnership with TikTok.
Yes.
Is that right? So how are you splitting the revenues with TikTok? I mean, why don't you just do it on your own? Why did you have to go with TikTok to do a partnership for social commerce?
Well, there's a few questions there. Let me start from the last one.
Sorry, that was going
Why
all
are we
over the
working
place.
with TikTok?
Yeah.
Right. I think one lessons we learned when we will look at the China market, right? There's also Rightboard and Douyin. Content itself, as a travel content, are no longer big enough to be a self-sustained platform. Because YouTube will always be bigger, because it covers content from fashion, from travel, from lifestyle, from everything. So it will always have the largest traffic. There's no longer seeing the opportunity for a standalone content vertical platform. So China was a perfect example because Little Rightbook after COVID was taking over from the previous generation of some of the content travel site as people may have known. Right? In the US, similarly, TikTok, YouTube, IG, right? They are the largest content for travel, not the traditional travel as a vertical content site. So the goal is how you embrace it instead of doing everything yourself. So, I mean, that's also coming to the fundamental belief travel is an ecosystem. You need to be able to open and working with all the partners and finding the right touch point with the consumers. So which is also the creator program that we did, is how we empower all the creators, Klook creators in the market, that they can create more and more content. But it doesn't matter whether the content is with Klook or with TikTok or with IG or with YouTube, which is also the reason why we are the most loved partners with any of this content platform.
Right, so you really just kind of create a flywheel of social content that just promotes travel and everybody benefits, right?
But that's also because we do already have the brand there, so it does help to drive the traffic back.
All right, so one of the things that many successful businesses struggle with is like, how do you maintain your early culture as you scale, right? I mean, Klook has really, really grown quickly. So have you sacrificed any of your core principles or values for the sake of growth?
Not the core principle. I don't think principle change. So the
What's
mission
the core
is
principle?
Okay. Our mission hasn't changed, right? And since day one, given myself and Eric's background, we always want to bridge the community, bridge the wall. And we do believe experience is the best way of bridging the different community and bridging the traverse. So that fundamental never change. And our core value within Klook, what we call PASS, push boundary, ask and give feedbacks. T as help each others, and M high, right? I mean, that's always what you continue to push in the market. So this kind of fundamental belief that doesn't change as you grow bigger and bigger. Okay. But what does change is the organizational structure. That you have to adjust based on the size of the team and the complication of the different BUs that you have.
Right.
It's a simple math game, right? I often discuss with some of our other senior leadership team. When you have a 20 people team with another 20 people, if you don't have a center point of people who do project management or coordination or briefing, it's a 20 times 20, it's a 400 line of communication. It's going to be chaotic. So inevitably, as a company grow, the efficiency and the line of communication will grow bigger and bigger. But how in that process you continue adjusting and adopting the structure in a way that is best suitable for the stage of the company and the size of the team. So keep being agile is one of the key principles. But the changes is only constant.
Right. How have you changed as a leader? How have you changed personally? Are there aspects of yourself that you miss?
I become much more zen.
More zen. Okay.
For some of my colleagues knows me in the early days, I'm much more impatient. I was a banking consultant trained. I sometimes care too much about the details that things would be 100% perfect. But you do recognize the downside or the other area that you sacrifice as the efficiency, right? But you need to make sure a certain work stream need to carry at the same time. So I become much more peaceful with myself. And also COVID, I think, was a really, really big change probably for a lot of people here as well.
All of us, okay.
Right, I mean, for running across Asia Pacific, the slightly different point was every single market was at a different timing of the lockdown.
Yeah.
And when you do a pan-region business, it's like an endless nightmare. This month you're dealing with Singapore, the next month is Vietnam, the next month is South Korea, right? It's just continue going to the point that you become very zen and peaceful. You're like, life is what it is.
Okay.
You do things where you can control, and you let go of the things you cannot control.
But I don't know. I asked your staff, and I said, is Ethan as zen as he says he is these days? And they told me, no, you love a good debate. So I'm going to give
Relatively speaking.
So I'm going to give you a couple of quick propositions, whether you disagree or not, right? So people say out there, Klook got into tours and activities too early, the market was too immature, it's burned through so much cash, now the big boys are coming and they were going to eat your supper.
Disagree. The time we went was the time of the mobile acceleration. So that was a key moment that the entire sector was on the fast track acceleration. So if you look at the growth trajectory of Yeoh and WiT, it was also started from 2015, 16, and 17. Okay. So 2008 would be a bit too early because the desktop was not really the consumer behavior for people to book on the go. The big guys, I think we were fortunate to build to the scale where we are right now. So it's very defensive. So that's very important because as a platform business, if you don't reach a few billion US$ as a size, you're not going to be profitable. That's just how the business model works, given the amount of the marketing, operations, supply, and tech investment that you need. So we are fortunate to grow into the size what we are, leveraging the moment of the capital market that they can fund you for that growth.
Right, good timing.
Good timing.
Great timing, okay. Yeah. Second proposition, an Asian travel brand run by Asians will never make it globally. Global domination is the dominion of Western brands.
What is a Western brand and Asian brand? That's something I actually don't really get.
Western, well, you're an Asian homegrown brand, right? Like Traveloka is an Asian homegrown brand. Expedia is a Western brand. Ctrip, grown out of China. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if you look at myself and Eric's background, right? Eric was born and grew up in Africa. right, and US educated.
You know,
right?
a debate is just meant to provoke you, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So, but it's not really a debate because I never understand the concept of an Asian or Western brand, right? Booking coming from Neverland, very successful global brand.
Okay.
Agoda was actually coming from Thailand,
Yeah.
but managed by a very well, professional global team, right? So I do believe in this generation of all the talents here is a global citizen, right? I mean, you see people starting business in Brazil, you see people starting business in Middle East. At the end of the day, it's the talent movement that matters. It's less about whether the brand is coming from Singapore or coming from Japan or coming from the US. It's how you're able to pull the resources globally to the need of the business model that is very suitable. That to me is what we see as a new emerging wave of a tech startup. There's not a really single market in my mind.
Wow, fantastic. So the world is truly your oyster.
I hope so.
Sometimes you can eat bad oysters, so just be careful. But final question, what's the one change you want to see in the Asian travel industry in the next generation?
Sustainability.
Sustainability.
Yeah. I mean, as travel continues to outpace the GDP growth, I mean, the reason why we're all here is amazing sector. You will run into a supply capacity strength. Right? I mean, one good thing about content is it makes a place even more popular than it need to be. It will be overly crowded. It will have all different kind of sustainability issues. So how we really solving that as a sector together, that is definitely a key, things in our mind. And I think that is something much more aware by the new generation as well, because we want to be able to experience the same things in the next decade and decade and decade.
Right. Fantastic. Please join me in thanking Ethan for closing that. Thank you.
Right, they're ready now. Let the show begin. Next generation for the win. We're going all in. Take center stage now. Let's begin. Let the show